Springfield, Missouri, June 7, 1992. On a quiet residential street, the morning sun rose on an ordinary Sunday. But inside the house at 1717, East Delmer Street, something was profoundly wrong. The previous night, 3 women had entered this home. By morning, they were gone. Their cars were parked outside, their purses were lined up on the floor, and their beds had been slept in. But of the women themselves, Sherrill Levitt, her daughter Suzanne Streeter, and Susie's friend Stacy McCall, there was no sign. There were no signs of a struggle, no ransom note, just an eerie silence and a mystery that would endure for decades, becoming one of America's most haunting unsolved cases. This is the story of the day the Springfield 3 vanished. To understand the loss, we must first know who was lost. Sherrill Levitt was a 47-year-old single mother and a respected cosmetologist. Friends describe her as a dedicated, hard-working parent who had raised her daughter, Susie, on her own. Sherrill was known for her meticulous nature and her deep love for her home, which she had recently purchased and was busy renovating. She was looking forward to this new chapter in her life. Her daughter, Suzanne Streeter, known as Susie, was 19 years old. She had just graduated from Kickapoo High School 2 days earlier. Susie was a vibrant, artistic young woman, remembered for her bright personality and her close bond with her mother. She worked at a local movie theater and had plans to attend cosmetology school in the fall, following in Sherrill's footsteps. Her future seemed full of promise and excitement. She had also just graduated from Kickapoo High. Stacy was described as responsible, sweet-natured, and thoughtful. The youngest of her family, she was close to her parents and was excited about her own future. She had plans to attend Southwest Missouri State University and was known for her cautious and reliable demeanor. The night she disappeared was meant to be a celebration of a milestone she had worked so hard to achieve. The night of June 6, 1992, was a time of celebration for the high school seniors of Springfield. Suzanne Streeter and Stacy McCall had spent the evening hopping between graduation parties, enjoying the final hours of their high school experience with friends. Their original plan was to spend the night at a friend's house in nearby Branson. But as the night wore on and the parties wound down, the Branson house seemed too crowded. Sometime after midnight, the girls decided to change their plans. They would go to Susie's house on East Delmer Street instead. They were last seen leaving a friend's home at approximately 2:15 a.m. on June 7th. They told their friends they were heading to Susie's house to sleep. Stacy made a quick phone call to her mother, Janice, to let her know about the change of plans and confirm the new location. This was the last time anyone is known to have spoken to either of the girls. Evidence suggests they arrived safely at the Delmer Street house. They changed into their nightclothes, washed off their makeup, and prepared for bed. Sherrill was already home, having spent the evening painting an antique chest of drawers. At some point after 2:15 a.m., in the quiet of the early morning, the 3 women vanished. The next day, friends of Susie and Stacy, who had planned to meet them for a trip to a water park, grew concerned when the girls didn't show up. They drove to the Delmer Street house in the late morning. They found the front door unlocked. Inside, they saw Sherrill's small dog, a Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon, who seemed agitated. The television was on, displaying a snowy screen. Everything seemed to be in its place. The friends, not wanting to intrude, cleaned up a small mess and left, assuming the women had simply left early for their own trip. Later that afternoon, Stacy's mother, Janice McCall, became increasingly worried. When Stacy still hadn't returned home, Janice drove to the house herself. What she found was deeply unsettling. The front porch light globe was shattered, with glass swept into a neat pile on the porch. Inside, the scene was one of frozen, ordinary life. All 3 women's purses were there, neatly lined up on the floor of Susie's room. Inside were their car keys, wallets, and cash. Stacy's medication, which she needed daily, was still in her bag. There was nothing to indicate a violent struggle. It was as if Sherrill, Susie, and Stacy had simply evaporated. When police arrived, the scene presented more questions than answers. The house had been entered by several concerned friends and family members before law enforcement secured it, potentially contaminating any evidence. A forensic search yielded no signs of a struggle, no blood, and no clear indications of forced entry beyond the broken porch light. The most perplexing clue was on the answering machine. According to Janice McCall, she had inadvertently deleted a message while trying to play it. She described it as a strange message, but could not recall the details. This erased recording became one of the case's most frustrating lost leads. In the days and weeks that followed, a massive investigation was launched. Police interviewed friends, family, and acquaintances. They chased down hundreds of tips, but none led to a breakthrough. There was no ransom demand. No bodies were ever found. Without a crime scene, without suspects, and without the victims, the investigation stalled. The case of the Springfield Three became a void, a mystery defined not by what was found, but by what was missing. Over 3 decades have now passed. For the families of Sherrill, Susie, and Stacy, the passage of time has brought no resolution, only a prolonged state of grief and uncertainty. The case officially remains open, a cold file waiting for a clue that might finally break the silence. The fate of the Springfield Three remains one of America's most profound and enduring mysteries, a story with no final chapter.